and we want to compress those frequencies. So we're going to be dragging this down like so. You would select the key of the beat. I forget what the key is, but let's say it's C major. Okay, it's not C major. We're going to slowly bring up the volume on the parallel compression chain to make the main vocals sound punchier.
You called me from a payphone.
What is up, xolemates? In this video, I'm going to show you how I mix my vocals using only Ableton stock audio effects. Specifically, it's going to be a Phoebe Bridgers-like vocal mix, so having a contrast between warm and soft, and then powerful and wide. I made a Google Doc that you can check out where I studied the vocal mixes on her top 10 songs, and we're going to be using the stats from that doc to make this mix. There are 3 steps that will help you get a mix like this. Step 1 is don't interrupt the vocals on the high end. Make sure the beat doesn't have a lot of elements on the higher frequencies because you want the vocals to really secure that spot. Step 2 is keep the reverb on the main vocals quick and quiet, and then the reverb on the background vocals long and loud. Step number 3 is don't emphasize symmetry with your panning. Whenever I record background vocals, I usually like them to be equally on your left and your right ear, but with a lot of Phoebe Bridgers songs, she'll have the main vocal down the middle and then like one vocal track on the left, and there will be nothing on the right. Let's check out a sneak peek of this vocal mix using only Ableton stock audio effects.
To tell me you're getting sober and you wrote me a letter.
Hello Ableton, you're looking beautiful as always. Here is our track. So as you can see, no audio effects on any of these vocal tracks, and then down here we have the beat. If I go over here to the chorus and I press play, you're gonna hear all of these vocal tracks right down the middle. We're gonna really dive into the vocal mix, but before we do that, I'm just gonna quickly show you how you can create space. So all those tracks were down the middle. Let's start moving them around. So with these doubled vocals, I'm gonna move one left, one right. And then now when we mix that with our main vocals, we will have main vocal and then 2 doubles on the left and the right. And then following step 3, where we don't want to emphasize symmetry on the panning, in Kyoto, the background vocals are actually on the right. So with these background vocals, we're going to group them and then move them to the right. Now our main vocals have a lot more room in that chorus. The way I'm going to mix these vocals, I'm going to be using, can I get a drum roll please? My debut vocal template, Indie Vocal Vibes. You do not need to buy this template in order to follow this mix. You can basically follow along and make your own version of it. But if you want to support your boy out, you know where to go. Much love. I appreciate you. Xole from the future. Just wanted to say, right there, right there, right there. Throughout this video, you will see a few discount codes, and if you use them in checkout, you can get up to 90% off your order. When you download the template, it is a project, and you can save the project as a default project. So whenever you're recording vocals, you can just open it up, record it, and then you can also go in the individual vocal tracks and save the presets. I have a confession. When I said 100% stock audio effects, I lied. There are 2 third-party plugins, but they are completely free, so you can just download them right away. They are basically like stock audio effects. So we're gonna drag this preset down, and the 2 audio effects are Wider and Fresh Air. These are my favorite free plugins ever. Let's turn the preset off.
Day off in Kyoto, got bored at the temple.
Now let's turn it on.
Day off in Kyoto, got bored at the temple, looked around at the 7-Eleven.
This is my favorite thing about the preset. It is so quick to edit your vocal mix. So I'm gonna lower the bite just a little bit, and then I'm gonna lower the reverb, and then we're gonna follow step 2, which was you want a short reverb on the main vocals. So there are 2 reverbs in this reverb chain on the sauce, and you want to choose one. Don't combine them. So we're going to be turning off the long reverb. We're going to be turning on the short reverb, and then we're going to be lowering it by, let's say, -8. Let's give it a little bit of distortion, and then let's lower the brights, and then let's also just lower the vocals in general, -2. So that was super quick. Now let's listen to the vocals. Bring the beat up.
Day off in Kyoto, got bored at the temple, looked around at the 7-Eleven.
If you aren't in a position to buy this preset, that is totally understandable, like I said before. So I'm just going to show you how you can make this vocal mix. I'm going to be turning off all of these audio effects. I'm going to be turning off all of these audio effects, and we're going to be muting these doubles. So our vocals right now,
Day off in Kyoto, got bored at the
completely dry. In this preset, you have two groups. You have the cleanup group, and then you have the sauce group. And the cleanup group, this is just making your raw vocals a lot more professional and presentable. The sauce group and everything after it is when you can have fun and add those cool effects. And these macro knobs over here adjust the effects on the sauce group. So step one is going to be throwing in this low cut EQ. We're going to be taking out some lows around 170. This is what I do with all of my vocals. I take out the low frequencies. And actually, before we add this low cut, you're going to want to throw in your auto-tune. You're going to want to throw it in right here. So I have Melodyne. I use Melodyne. I love Melodyne. But if you have like auto-tune EFX, you would throw that in right here. You would select the key of the beat. I forget what the key is, but let's say it's C major. Okay, it's not C major. Next up is going to be the compression. Compression is one of the most important things about recording vocals. It's just gonna make your vocals sound a lot more beefy. So sometimes you're gonna be singing super loud, sometimes you're gonna be singing super quiet when you record vocals. And compression is basically just gonna be going like that. It's gonna be making those loud parts quieter, quieter parts louder. That's a very, very simplified version of compression, but that's what it's doing basically. So we throw in two compressors. The first compressor is going to be really, really quick. So it's going to be really adjusting your vocals. The second compressor is going to be really smooth. It's going to be slowly moving your vocals around. The reason this compressor is quick and this compressor is soft is due to the speed of the attack and release. The quick compressor's attack is at 0.5 milliseconds. So when it needs to make a change, it's going to quickly make that change. And then when it needs to go back to normal, it's going to be quickly going back to normal because the release is at 40 milliseconds. The slow compressor, the attack is at 3 milliseconds. So when it needs to make a change, it's not going to quickly make a change like the first compressor. It's going to slowly make a change and then slowly go back to normal. So this one's more smooth. We're going to turn the first compressor off. And let's just watch this first compressor. So the gain reduction is how much change the compressor is doing. We want this first compressor to do a lot of work. So we want to be having around like -7 dB of gain reduction. So this number down here, we want this to be around -7.
Day off in Kyoto.
Right now it's at 0.3. We want it to be at 7. So when you throw this template in, you're going to have to manually adjust the threshold on this first compression and then adjust the threshold on the second compression because all vocals are different.
Day off in Kyoto. Got bored at the temple, looked around at the 7-Eleven. The band took the speed train, went to the arcade. I wanted to go, but
sometimes this number is at 10, sometimes it is at 6. So without this first compressor,
day off in Kyoto,
day off in Kyoto, got bored. These two phrases are very loud. When you throw the compressor on, those are going to be quieter, and then the quiet parts are going to be louder.
Day off in Kyoto, got bored at the temple.
Now let's move on to the second compression. Right now, the second compression isn't doing anything.
Day off in Kyoto.
This meter isn't moving, and this is the gain reduction on the glue compressor. This is the gain reduction on the classic Ableton compressor. So we want this second compressor to be around -4, -5. We don't want it to be all the way to -8 like the other compressor.
Day off in Kyoto, got bored at the temple, looked around at the 7-Eleven.
Next up is going to be a scanning EQ. So if you don't have this preset, drag in an EQ8 and then use all of these knobs to either boost or subtract frequencies that you like or dislike. So
you called me from a payphone, they still got payphone.
I kind of like this frequency around 10K, so we're going to slightly boost it. And then I also liked
Dog got bored at the temple, looked around at the 7-Eleven.
just a little below that, so around 200. I like this. Next up is going to be a multi-band dynamic. So I'm actually just going to throw in this audio effect because this is kind of confusing. So we're going to throw in a multi-band dynamic. There we go. And we're going to be using this as a de-esser. So Ableton doesn't have like a de-esser stock audio effect, so you have to make do with what they do have. Basically what this is doing, it's like compression, but it only compresses frequencies that you want it to compress. So there's 3 chains. There's low, high, and middle. And the middle is determined by what you set the high and the low at. So S's, vocalists, you want to lower your S's, and usually S's are around 6K. So we're going to set the high to 7K, and then we're going to boost the low to 3K. So the lows only get up to 3K. So this mid chain is now going to be from 3K to 7K. So that's including that 6K range. And we're going to be compressing these S's. So you're going to see
Dog got bored at the temple, looked around at the 7.
this mid level right here is getting shot up every time there's an S or a T. Every time there's like harsh sibilances. And we want to compress those frequencies. So we're going to be dragging this down like so.
Dog got bored at the temple.
And you only want to be compressing when those S's are set. So you're going to move this around.
Dog got bored at the temple, looked around at the 7-Eleven.
That's how you make a de-esser from a multi-band dynamic. So in the template, it's basically already set up.
Dog got bored at the
And you're just going to adjust this to match it to where those S's are.
Dog got bored at the temple, looked around at the 7.
I like it around there. So congratulations. You have just made your vocals a lot more professional sounding. There we go. Now the fun part comes in. Let's turn on these macro knobs and we can affect the cool audio effects. So let's turn on this sauce audio effect rack, and then let's turn off these 3 chains. As you can see, there's parallel compression, there's reverb, and then there is delay. And right now, all we have on is this dry signal.
You called me from a payphone.
And it sounds just like it was, and that's because the dry signal has nothing on it. There's no audio effects being added to this dry signal. So what we're going to do is we're going to be right-clicking, creating a chain, and we're going to be calling this parallel compression. And then next up, we're going to be going to our compressors. Let's throw in a glue compressor. And we want this compressor to be very harsh. So let's solo this extra chain we just added.
You called me from a payphone.
Let's boost up the attack, make it as quick as it can, make it come back to where it was as quick as it can, and then make the ratio, let's keep it at 4 actually.
You called me from a payphone. They still got payphones.
It doesn't sound that good. It's very harsh, it's very annoying, but when you add it under the dry signal, it makes the dry signal sound a lot more punchy. So let's just solo the dry signal and then solo the parallel compression. And as you can see, it's at negative infinity, meaning there's no volume. We're going to slowly bring up the volume on the parallel compression chain to make the main vocals sound punchier.
You called me from a payphone. They still got payphones. It costs $1 a minute.
I like it around -9. So I'm going to delete this extra chain we just added. And that is basically what this parallel compression chain is. We have the harsh compression right here.
You called me from a pay.
And you're going to want to adjust this threshold to your vocals. And then we have the overdrive. So this is when the macro knobs come into play. So the byte is controlling the audio on your parallel compression. So if I add this parallel compression and put the byte at 0, you're not going to hear anything.
You called me from a payphone. They still got payphones. It costs $1 a minute to tell me you're getting sober.
Let's keep it around -9.5. And then this distortion macro knob adjusts how much distortion is on the parallel compression.
You called me from a payphone. They still got payphones.
But on the main vocals in the verses, I don't want any distortion. But on the chorus, when the chorus comes in, Phoebe's vocals get a little distorted. So I want the distortion to be boosted in the chorus. And the way you can do that, you can press A, you can go to your indie vocal vibes template, and then you can press distort. And that is going to be automating this macro knob right here. So in the verses, let's have it at 3%.
You called me from a payphone.
But in the chorus, let's have it at 11%. Let's boost it a little bit more. Let's say 28.
I wanna kill you.
Moving on to the reverb. Let's turn the reverb chain on. And as we discussed earlier with the Phoebe Bridgers vocals, you want a short reverb.
You called me from a payphone. They still got payphones. It costs $1 a minute.
But in the chorus, I think I want a longer reverb. So I'm going to press A. I'm going to go over to, I'm going to scroll down to long reverb right here. And we're going to set the device to turn on in the chorus. And then we're going to go to short reverb. And we're going to set the reverb to turn off in the chorus. So with this automation in the verses, the short reverb is on.
I don't have to read it.
In the chorus, the long reverb.
I wanna kill you.
And just to have some fun, if we turn on this delay chain right here and then boost this delay up, Phoebe Bridgers doesn't do this a lot, so we're not going to have it. But with the delay, our chorus sounds like this.
I wanna kill you.
There we go. That is the sauce. Now we have this EQ that is boosting some warmth, boosting some frequencies around 300 to like 450, gives your vocals some nice warmth.
I wanna kill you if you don't beat me to it.
So obviously you don't want it to be that much boosted. Next up is the first third-party plugin, and it is Fresh Air. Fresh Air is a great plugin to boost highs, so it is set to this macro knob right here called Brights.
The band took the speed train, went to the arcade. I wanted to go.
Next up, I threw in a chorus, and you can adjust it right here. If you want a little bit of waviness, a little bit of cool effect on top of your vocals.
The band took the speed train, went to the arcade. I wanted to go back.
And then the last effect, other than this limiter, which is just going to keep your vocals from clipping, is the wider. And the wider is controlled by this widen macro knob right here. Look at that. So
The band took the speed train, went to the arcade. I wanted to go, but I didn't.
we're going to be mixing these doubles basically the same way as we mixed the main vocals, but we're not going to use as many audio effects. So when you download the Indie Vocal Vibes template, there is a main track and then there is a double track. And in the double track, you have this preset right here called Indie Doubles. And as you can see, it's basically the same thing as the main template right here, but there aren't as many controls, there aren't as many effects because you don't really need as many effects on your doubles. Right now we are soloing this left track right here and we moved it to the middle just so we can mix it and then we'll move it to the left.
Day off in Kyoto, got bored at
Bring down the
temple,
threshold.
looked around at the 7-Eleven. Got bored at the temple, looked around at the 7.
Honestly, we can just delete this and then de-esser, we definitely want some de-essing.
Day off in Kyoto, got bored at the temple.
The reverb. Let's have the doubles always have some short reverb on. So let's go ahead and delete that long reverb. Short reverb is on. We can delete this EQ. This sidechain is sidechaining the reverb to the dry signal. We want that. Let's also boost the reverb to -2 and then lower the dry signal to -3. So it's mainly going to be reverb.
Day off in Kyoto.
And we don't need this fresh air. We can go ahead and delete that. We don't want to add chorus on these doubles. And there we go. So I'm going to copy this template right here, paste it into my right channel, move the left one to the left. Now we're going to solo the doubles.
Day off in Kyoto, got bored at the temple, looked around.
They've got reverb. They sound really nice. Now you mix it with the main vocals.
Day off in Kyoto, got bored at the temple.
So if we solo these background vocals unmixed, panned 35 to the right, they sound like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our chorus vocal mix. I'm going to go to the reverb and I'm going to copy this long reverb right here. We want to throw in the same reverb that we're throwing in the main vocal mix. And we're going to paste it into this background. And we're going to group these background vocals and these are going to be called sides. So now let's throw in the reverb. Let's throw in an EQ. Let's take out some of these low lows, so they're gonna be kind of thin. Physics tells us that when you hear something that's far away, there's not a lot of high frequencies. So to follow that, to make this song sound natural, take some of those highs out. Let's follow step 3. Let's pan these vocals wherever we want, and let's move this 38 to the right. Now our chorus sounds like this.
I wanna kill you if you don't beat me to it. Dreaming through Tokyo skies.
Before we go, I'm going to show you one more effect that Phoebe Bridgers loves to do, and that is to have some slight, very quiet slap delay. In your delay track, as I talked about earlier, this delay is ping pong delay, but the slap delay that is in a lot of her songs is just right down the middle. So we're going to turn the ping pong off, and now we're going to pair it with the main vocals.
Day off in Kyoto, got bored at the temple, looked around.
There it is, but that's really loud. You want to just barely hear it. So let's lower the delay to negative infinity and then slowly bring it up until we can just barely hear it.
Day off in Kyoto, got bored at the temple, looked around at the 7-Eleven. The band took the speed train, went to the arcade. I wanted to go, but I didn't.
I hope this video helped you out. I hope it inspired you to record some indie vocals. Be sure to check out Indie Vocal Vibes. Anybody who snags this will get all free updates. So every time I make changes to the preset, you will get a free update. And the first 50 downloads get the stems to my new single, Sunrise. I hope you have a wonderful day or night or time. Keep making music. Peace.